I guess I'm in a yapping mood today, so I might as well sit down and do something with it. My intention for this year was to make a podcast at least once a month. Did I do that? No. Am I still doing it now? Yes, that's what matters. I feel this weird like perfectionism creeping in, and I talk about it almost every podcast where it just like it kind of freezes me and it puts me in this state of like I don't know how to exist or how to put myself out there or meet up with my own expectations that I've set in my mind because I'm so worried about it not coming off right or being taken wrong or not looking the best, and like I shouldn't even give a fuck. I actually did want to talk about that today. That literally leads me directly into my first talking point, which is something it's been like burning on my chest and I need to get out. Like I need to talk about this. I've been a creator in the health and wellness space for like the last year. That's like part of my like niche, specifically on Instagram. You know, my TikTok and my Instagram are two totally different entities, and my TikTok I'm not as serious, but on my Instagram I'm very serious and I try to connect with other people in these certain groups, right? And health and wellness and fitness is so important to me. Like that's a huge part of my life. That's what keeps me regulated, keeps me sane, essentially. But I have been struggling to make that type of content because I am struggling to even watch and consume that type of content. It is literally driving me banana buku bonkers crazy. Like I can't even look at it the right way because I think that it's shifted into this almost like cultist mindset that is perfectionism and obsession under the guise of like discipline. And I don't like where it's going. I don't like how it's pushing people. I don't like how it is just this binary thought process and there's no balance in between. It's like you either wake up at 5 a.m. and you do all this stuff and you don't even touch a processed carb in your life, or you're failing. I don't know. Discouragement is never the way to get people to listen to you. I know that people like do respond to tough love and people do respond to, you know, hard truths and things like that. But the way that it's been going about it is literally just like shoving this perfectionist mindset onto people and expecting them to feel okay afterwards. I don't know what it is. This perfectionism is literally like sickening to the point where it's like isolating, where people have pushed people away out of their lives where they're not even going to be friends with someone that has a different lifestyle than them. And I'm like, where is your discernment truly? Like if you really have so much discipline in your life, why would you not be able to maintain your friendships and your lifestyle? Do you know what I'm saying? It's escalated into this holier than thou judgmental mentality that has absolutely no form of balance. What I'm trying to say is these people who their entire life is the gym and their entire life is eating off of a fucking cutting board and their entire life is like only eating meat and they do this whole strict diet and blah, 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 that they can't even like go out and celebrate a birthday party for their family member. They can't even have a piece of cake to celebrate. They can't even, because what? What are you even training for? Most of these influencers and stuff like that, they're not training for shows. They're not doing it. They're doing it for perfectionism. They're doing it to put themselves on this pedestal. They're idolizing themselves, hoping that other people will idolize them too. And for me, I see it and I'm like, I don't want to idolize you. I don't want anything to do with you. I cannot like relate to you at all. You've lost your authenticity. Anything that they say just loses value to me. And I'm just like, I'm not gonna relate to you because you are choosing not to live. You are choosing this strictness. You're choosing this discipline that's not real. You've convinced yourself it's discipline, but it's obsession and it's like a sick disease and it's taking over other people because you're also sharing this type of content and people are like, that sounds right. And when you say it like that, I can see and I can understand. And that's why it's so addictive to have this type of content fed to you of I'm not doing enough and I need to do more and I can't have this and being so restrictive. It's like punishment. It's like invoking punishment onto other people. I don't like it. I don't fuck with it. And I'm struggling to even consume that type of content and create that type of content because I'm like, I don't know how to share this in a way that people actually give a fuck because that's what they want. People want that. People want that like that grind mentality that they have a purpose and that they're doing something right. But I'm like, this whole right and wrong thing, you're completely throwing balance out the window. And I have really learned what balance is and what rest is and how important it is for my body, for my mind. And to show up as me so I don't feel so burnt out. I used to have this mentality of like, I have to be doing something all the time. I have to show how much I'm doing because I do a lot in my life. And I think a lot of people see that and tell me that, and they're like, you're just always doing so much. And that in some way fulfilled me, but I wasn't resting. I wasn't decompressing in any way. And so I just had to talk about it. This whole like thing, I think it's turning into a cult. It's probably already been a cult, but I didn't see through it until recently. And I've just been really struggling to connect with other creators that are like, there's one in particular that I'm thinking of, and like, not a creator, but like there's a trend that I'm thinking of that creators are redoing, and they're like, imagine waking up at 6 a.m. to go on a run, and you ask your friend if they'll come with you, and they can't because they just got back from the club, like blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what does that have to do with fucking anything? So what, your friend didn't go on a run with you, you can do something else with them. And like, yeah, if you and your friend have different lifestyles, maybe it's a good, option to rethink what you do with them. That doesn't mean you have to do theirs or they have to do yours. Find common ground. I think the isolation in all of this is what is killing connection between people. And we are meant to be connected. We're meant to have friends. We're meant to be in communities. We're meant to be a part and belong and find other people that we love and that love us. And that's like a huge, huge part of what keeps us alive as humans. And so when you are so isolated that you won't even interact with someone that doesn't have the same lifestyle as you, one, it creates this pack mentality behavior of like, I am better than you and you are different from me. So you don't see the kind of commonality that you can find with someone else. But it's also like, I think that shows that you don't have the discipline you think you do. Why not make the actual effort to find something that you can do together, that you do enjoy together, or just simply spend time? Like, that's it. I understand what it's like to be friends with someone that you feel like is pulling you down. And I've had friends in the past that, they didn't necessarily not want to do things with me, but they like low-key threw shade at me for starting or for trying. And that, I think, is understandable when you kind of remove those kinds of people from your life and you cut off those friends that you can tell it's coming from their own insecurity of like, oh, I'm not doing this, and why do you think you're doing all this stuff, and why do you think you're better than me, and why do you, whatever. I've definitely cut off friends before in the past for, it wasn't really not having the same lifestyle as me, but because when I started to make positive changes, they were not supportive of my changes. There's a difference that if you have friends that are supportive of you and are proud of you for doing something in your life and being fit and being active and being healthy, if they're supportive of you, why are you cutting them off just because they do things differently than you? That's where perfectionism leaks into social media, where it tells us that we can't, be friends with these kinds of people. And I think that's stupid. I just think that's stupid. That kind of like reminds me of the levels of thought. If you've heard of like the thought staircase or the thought ladder, where it's like we all kind of process everything and we see everything through our own perception, our own worldview. We all have our own reality, our own version of reality based on how we see things. And the levels of thought are, you have ego-based thinking at the bottom, and it moves all the way up to like your highest self thinking. So if you think about it, like each level of thought, you have more perspective, you gain more insight on how you see things around you. And when you think, this us versus them mentality, that's like the lowest level of thought. That's the lowest level of thinking. And it all comes from the ego. And it's very frustrating to see people make this type of content like that, when you can have a little bit more perspective and say like, there's more to it than that. And like, a lot of content is ego-based. That's what I'm noticing too. It's not even just wellness content that I'm struggling to connect with. It's a lot of content, especially on TikTok. There is this like power grab. Obviously your For You page is made for you, and it's the algorithm, and it kind of is very tailored to you to have this like narrow mind. It doesn't show you a lot of things outside unless it's like hugely trending. Kind of puts you in your own bubble where you're not expanding your levels of thought. You're not expanding your worldview. Specifically, it's in like a lot of relationship TikTok, but it's also in like friendship TikTok, sports TikTok, when you get played, but jokes on them because you were playing them the whole time, stuff like that, where it's like, haha, funny, like whatever. But when you take a second and just look at it from a different perspective, and you're like, this isn't giving you what it needed to give. And I bet the person that posted it, it didn't make them feel better. They thought that it would make them seem more manipulative and seem like they were in control the whole time, where they felt powerless. That's what a lot of people relate to. And there's like so many shares and so many likes and so many reposts and so many comments like, haha, me. But it's just, doing that is like a desperate grab for power and control where you don't have any. Where there's a situation in your life where you feel like there's something you could have done where it's so out of your hands that you have to do something, and this is your way of regaining that. But it doesn't do anything genuinely, because it's not actually addressing the problem, which is you feel out of control. And then that leads to the question of, why do you need to have control over this situation? I don't know. I'm just saying that's like what a lot of creators do, is make content out of their own ego, out of their own like, I'm trying to portray this image of me. I'm trying to show you that I have control and that I have power in my life, when really they are completely powerless. That's why it's so fake. That's why social media is not real. And you see these people that have so much, they're trying to flex on other people when they don't even have that. They're trying to obtain that by posting, because it does not exist in their current life. It's sad to see. A lot of people think that they have control over their emotions in this way, but I don't think that people have as much control over their emotions as they think they do. I'm not trying to be a misandrist in any way or be sexist in any way, but it is kind of known that in our society, men are told to not be emotional. They're growing up with these role models and parental figures that are like, boys don't cry, or suck it up and stop crying and stuff like that. So when you have children that express emotion, because we are human and it is normal and natural for us, and they're told to suppress it, that becomes their main mode of functioning, suppressing emotions. I had a conversation with someone recently, it was like a couple days ago, where this guy was telling me like, he's like, oh, I have to be a man, I have to be tough, I can't show emotion. And I was like, does that make you feel like you're in control? And he was like, yeah. And I'm like, what makes you think that you can control something that you don't even feel? And he like kind of sat there and he like processed it and like understood, and he was like, pff. And I was cooking. I was basically just telling him like, if you cannot even identify how you feel and allow that feeling to move through you, how do you have any sort of control over that emotion? You don't. And when you have suppression, all that leads to is implosion. It's only a matter of time, no matter what you're suppressing, whether that's grief or loneliness or shame or fear. All of those emotions will come up eventually, and they will directly impact how you show up in the world. It'll directly impact you years down the road when you're like, why do I feel like this? And it's because you chose to not feel something beforehand. I'm not saying only men do this. I think women do this too, and I've had issues with that myself. I think for a very, very, very long time, I did not cry. I thought that crying was weakness and showing emotion was weakness. Even if I tried to cry or tried to get it out, tried to watch sad movies and listen to sad music and think about the things that happened to me, I still could not show that emotion. And I was so envious of my other friends who could just cry when they needed to, or felt something so deeply that they showed it. And I just didn't know how to do that for so long. I think that I started understanding and recognizing when I felt a certain feeling, and I was like, I don't care if I don't have time for this or am not in the right place to feel this. I have to feel it, and I just let it out. There's a lot of times where I used to like feel like I was going to cry, and I did not allow myself to. I just pushed it down. I was like, no. And then it would come up 6 months later, and I'm like, why am I crying about this? And so I think that's why, like, when things hit me now and I've learned to identify the emotion that I'm feeling, no matter what it is, and then feel that feeling, I don't carry it with me. And I feel a lot more free and light, and things don't bother me from the past because I move through it, you know? And that's the only safe way to really do it, unless you bottle it up and you explode. So we had just had that conversation of like, why do you feel like you have control over your emotions? You don't even know what emotions you're feeling. You can't even identify them. And there's such a broad like range of emotions as well, because like a lot of people chase happiness and a lot of people chase like excitement. For me, like I think the feeling that I chase the most is like contentment and peace, because that's way longer lasting than happiness. Happiness isn't supposed to be constant. It's fleeting, just like sadness. But peace and contentment, they're longer lasting emotions, and they are so comfortable to be in. As a child and like even as a teenager and a young adult, I used to be very emotionally reactive. And I don't think that I process in that way anymore. I don't crash out the way that I used to. And I used to crash out all the time over every little thing. And I used to be so afraid and like literally filled with fear and have to have control. And I would micromanage the fuck out of people. And I just like had to know what was going on. Uncertainty in my body felt like I was dying. And so I wanted to have control in my life. I had this moment in my life where I was like, the only thing I really can control is me. My reactions are the things that I can control. And like my response is my responsibility. And so when things push me or I have like emotions well up, I have a lot more emotional control and emotional regulation because I'm able to like sit and feel them and dissect it and without acting on them. I can feel things deeply without choosing to act. When we get hurt, we want people to know. We want people to feel the hurt with us. Anytime I've had a crash out in my past, it didn't make me feel better. It just showed my emotional volatility, and it also showed that I had no control. It made me feel even more powerless because I was like, why did I do that? Why did I act that way? Why did I say those things? Why did I treat this person this way? When someone has hurt me directly, whether intentionally or unintentionally, my best response that I can give is no response. Because my emotions are so big and because they are so powerful and that's what I am in control over, that's a sacred commodity to me. Giving my reaction and giving my emotions to someone who is intentionally asking for it is like the most like agonizing thing ever, because I am the type of person, I'm very stubborn. I'm the type of person that like, if you want something from me, I don't want to give it to you. If you want me to do something, I don't want to do it. Like I don't know what it is. My time, my energy, my thoughts, my words are so valuable, and I believe that in myself. And so I'm not going to share those things with other people who have shown me through their actions, through their words, that they don't deserve that from me. I always say that like, I don't think before I speak, and that is true. Like a lot of this stuff is just coming out. I'm not really thinking about it beforehand. It's just like word vomit, right? And it's things that, you know, have been on the back of my mind and I just need to get it all out. But when it comes down to feeling emotions, I have learned through trial and error and fucking up, basically that like, that is the time when I start to feel a certain emotion and it wells up in my chest. That is the time to sit and think and process and listen. And if I can discern that it deserves a response, then I will have a response, but it's never gonna be what people expect. And I think that that is a way that I've grown in my life, is just not giving people a reaction, not giving people what they want from me. When people are picking and prodding and poking for that reaction, it's all coming from that place. Like when I look at it from that higher level of thinking, I can see it's not coming from this healed place from them. They want to know that they matter. They want to know that they're important, that they could, you know, affect someone in a certain way. They want to know that their presence is important. And so that's where it comes from. It's their own ego, it's their own insecurity, it's their own like self-abandonment to say, please validate me by reacting to my presence. And I just won't do it. I've been told a lot recently that like my energy is like magnetic, or that it's grounding, or that it feels safe, or that it's like addictive. In a way, I kind of am like a therapist to other people, and it's probably just from being in therapy and for so long, and for, you know, having an education in psychology and things like that. I can see people for how they are. Does that stop me from wanting to see the best in them and wanting to see potential in people? No, absolutely not. I always think highly of people when I first meet them until I'm proven otherwise. I don't see that as a fault. I would so much rather see the best in people than to walk around the world with this like icky pessimism that like leaks into everything, and I can't even like trust a single person, or I've isolated myself because I just think that the world is so bad. I don't think like that at all. It's hard to discern sometimes like what's actually real though. When people are like putting on a front, or when people are acting out of their ego and stuff like that, it's really hard to discern what is real, who really are you. But like, people tattle on themselves all the time. People will rat on themselves constantly. And you just have to listen and know what they're actually saying and cut through the bullshit. And I've always had that like perception and intuition of like, something's not matching up right. Your persona and your personality, not quite the same. You can feel like someone's aura when they're like projecting. Speaking of which, let's talk about it. Aura, I know I've had a lot of like the aura farming TikToks and stuff like that pop up, but like I actually want to talk about like what aura is, because I genuinely believe that it is real. People who like don't have any sort of background in like metaphysical quantum theory, which I do, I constantly read books about this. I'm constantly, like looking online and researching, and I consume a lot of content about this too, and a lot of YouTube about, the metaphysical world. When it comes to aura, I think people have this misconception that it's just this like glowing light around you, and I'm like, that's not quite what it is. If you think about it, a magnetic field is created by rhythmic beats, right? We have something inside of us that beats rhythmically constantly throughout our entire lives and does not stop. This is creating a magnetic field around us, right? A small one. It's not huge, but it does create a magnetic field around us. Our brains produce brain waves, beta, theta, gamma, delta, alpha, whatever brain waves that you have fill this magnetic field around you. And that, I think, is what creates your aura. If you're thinking from those low levels of thought and you're in those lower vibrational energies, if your brain waves, if you're emitting this lower frequency, people can feel that. If you have bad vibes or whatever, people can feel that, sense that. It affects the way that you carry yourself. It affects the air around you. And that's why, like, sometimes you're around someone and you're like, you're glowing, right? These are people who have that higher vibrational energy. They're not stuck in fear and doubt and guilt and shame, those lower energies that like can fill your space and make you a miserable person to be around. Those are people who are operating from like love and acceptance and joy and passion and courage. Those are those high vibrations that can create that big aura around you. I hope that people believe that. I love when I meet people who like can kind of believe that same thing, that like we are not only carbon-based beings, we are energetic beings. It's literally proven that these are things around us, that this is how our bodies function. And that study that was just done at Princeton that shows collective consciousness. Our brains are literally like an antenna, a receiver and a sender of thoughts. And having this collective consciousness, the same way that like if you've ever heard of like your third eye, I think that is your like antenna, that's your receiver, that's your like laser beam focus kind of shit. Like if you've ever been in a crowd and all of a sudden you look at someone and they're already looking at you, and you didn't have to scan the crowd to find out who was looking. You already knew. You could feel it. You could see and sense in your body where this was coming from. I think that is exactly how this happens. Sometimes when we look at someone, our energy is so strong, whatever we're thinking, whatever we're feeling about that person, it laser focuses on them. It basically taps their fucking aura on the shoulder and says, hey, like you're picking up this other energy right now. If I believe anything, that is what I know to be true. Talking about like the fungal network and how like you could step on a root of a tree and a tree 200 miles away can feel that. That's how deep these roots are in. That's how deep their communication runs. They have senses that we also have. Like if we are from the same energy, if we're from the same earth, if we're from the same like whatever, we're connected to these beings. I was talking on my TikTok live the other day about how plants can feel. And like that sounds so hippie for me to say, but I remember, I think it was Mythbusters that did something, or something I saw on TV as a kid. But they did this experiment where they had a plant and they would like talk really badly to this plant. They were like yelling at this plant, whatever. It had like emotional responses. It like showed on, like it was hooked up to a graph, and it showed that this plant could sense that this person had anger towards them. The same way that like plants and trees and stuff like that can feel musical vibrations, and it can help them grow. And the same way that like indigenous cultures used to play music and drums and stuff like that during like harvests or before harvests and things like that, would play music for these crops for them to grow and be more bountiful. It's the same way plants can sense the energies around them the same way that we can. I know that sounds so hippie for me to say. I know I sound crazy when I talk about this, but I love this stuff. I love metaphysical quantum theory. I love quantum entanglement. I love talking about like the Nobel Peace Prize winner, I think it was 2022, maybe 2023, that was talking about how a particle that will interact with another will always be connected in some way to that particle. They will always be parallel to each other, and that they got into like parallel universe theory and stuff like that, and I love talking about that stuff. But I think that we can take a little bit of a lesson of like, we need to touch grass. We spend so much time on our phones that we forget that like getting outside and is literally recharging for us. It resets our energy. It makes us feel lighter. Grounding, just standing barefoot on the grass can take negative ions from you, feel better. I think that people are so consumed by their own life that they forget that we are connected to everyone and everything. And that's a special thing. That's not something to be afraid of. That's not something to dismiss or just be like, oh, whatever, that's woo-woo. This is something that like is proven time and time and time and time again, that we are connected to other people, and yet we are so isolated and we are so disconnected from people because we have been shown only one perspective, tunnel vision in on only what we want to see. And we forget that having a moment of connection with someone can carry someone through so long. And getting into like mental health and things like that, you never know what people are going through. Like, this is something that's been said and it's nuanced and whatever. You never know what people are going through. You never know what struggles people are going through because they hide it. No one wants to talk about it. No one wants to be a burden or admit that things might be, that they might be feeling not themselves. And so anytime there's a chance that, you know, I'm connecting with someone or I'm just having a moment just talking to someone about something, I always make such intentional time and space. I'm like, okay, this person clearly needs to be seen and heard right now, and I can do that. I can do that. That is, I think, my gift and my superpower to the world, is being able to just be intentional with other people and create connections. That's why I make friends so easily. I think my extroversion is such a gift to me because people need to be seen and heard. People are so lonely, and I don't want anyone to feel like they have no one or that no one is listening to them. And you know, I talk a lot about how we get in this pessimistic mindset of the world is so bad and I'm so alone, but if I can be just one positive reminder that, hey, the world's not so bad and people are still great and I'm still connected, that will light someone up for so long and you have no idea. And there's always these moments where I can see gratitude radiating off of people just for literally being heard, just for being able to talk, just for being able to be reminded that the world is still a good place. I think that we love that fear content. We love the doomsday. We love the, oh my God, the world is ending and it's so bad and look at everything. Oh, that's a very comfortable place to be in. It's nice to sit and be like, well, fuck it, I might as well give up, or things like that. But I choose actively to see the good in the world and to see the good in others and to see the good in what we are working towards. I think that everyone thinks that we're doomed as a society, but I see all the ways in which it could go right. And I think that I want to share that with other people so that that is something we can all have. When I was younger, I was in World Civ in college, and we had this moment where my professor was basically saying, like, every change that's happened in the world has only been one person, and what makes you so different? And that was so eye-opening for me, and I was like crying. I was like, how am I supposed to make a difference? I have such a desire to help. I have such a desire to change the world. I have such a calling and a passion to help other people grow and help other people change and to experience the world like I do, because I see that so many people do not love their life the way that I love my life, and they are not enthusiastic about anything. And I want so badly for them to feel the way that I do, that I felt so powerless. I was like, how can I do anything when the world is so big? And hearing these words from my professor saying, negative or positive, whoever it was, whether it was, Jesus Christ or Adolf Hitler, these are one person that made a massive impact on the world. These are people who have lived and died, and their legacy lives on. This is something that is, whether they're famous or infamous, one person has the power to change things. And it's not even just that they had a huge following. It's not even just that they were heard or seen by so many. Everyone has the chance to impact the world in a positive way. And even though I'm just a micro influencer, I only have a couple thousand followers or whatever, I can still make a huge difference. And I hear that all the time. I get messages constantly, almost daily, from people being like, you have inspired me to do this. I have gone here because of you. I have started doing this because of you. The way that I live my life and the way that I share that with others is the way that I can make a change. How I treat other people when I'm with them, how I meet other people, I interact with other people, that makes a lasting difference on people's lives that you have no idea the impact that it will carry. Sometimes think about one video that you watched and it changed the way you saw something. one person can make a difference, not to change your entire life, but to give you another step forward. I think that that is what my calling is, and that's why I don't want to give up. That's why I want to be doing this and want to be talking and using my gift of gab for better, to better the world and to better other people. There is no real difference between me and anyone else. I think that was a huge realization for me in my life, was understanding that I am no better or worse than anyone else around me. It's my choices and my thoughts that differ. I thought about, someone that's gone through the same hardships as me, someone who's gone through the same pain and the same trauma and the same hurt. Why are we so different? And it's because the choices that I made to ensure that pain would not happen to me again, to ensure that I would grow from that I would let go of that. So many people take that pain and they say, I am a victim of my circumstance, and I am a victim of the world around me, and I'm a victim by this person and this person that hurt me, and I'm going to take this pain with me everywhere I go, and I'm going to project it onto everyone else around me. I don't do that. My response is my responsibility. And I think that when I went through the most painful part of my life, and going through years of abuse and going through just completely losing myself entirely, I had a moment, a literal moment that I remember so vividly. I'll never forget this. Sitting down and literally saying, I don't ever want to go through this again. And not using that as a protective shield, but in a way of how can I grow from this so that I do not allow those circumstances in my life again? How can I learn from this and grow from this so that I do not become hard, so that this experience softens me and opens me and propels me forward and does not leave me stuck and scared and scattered as a person? And that's where it happened. I was like, okay, I am just as much a problem. I am just as much a perpetuator of the cycles that I have been in because I have allowed it. Where am I going wrong? And starting to journal and starting to get into why am I this way? I wasn't a perfect person. Just because I was being abused doesn't mean that I wasn't also being an abuser. Just because I was doing these other things doesn't also mean that I was treating other people this exact same way. I had my own issues, lots of them. And I said, let's tackle these. This is the root of the problem. Can I look at myself with accountability and say, I am just as much responsible for being hurt as the other people who hurt me? And taking radical self-accountability changed my entire life, because I basically was like, where is my pattern? Where's my fault? What am I doing wrong? And how can I fix that? I didn't take the time to sit down and try and figure out why other people are the way that they are, or why they do the things that they do. I said, that has nothing to do with me. A lot of times when people are treating you a certain way, one, it's a projection. They're only seeing things as far as they can. And some people are only treating you how they see themselves, and that has nothing to do with you. But on the other hand, it is such a mirror to hold up to your face and say, do you also do this? Does this also exist and live inside you? And I looked at that, I was like, I don't like this person. Damn, I'm kind of like this person. And making the active choice to just show up and be better, make different choices and have a different life. I said, you know what? I don't want to be this person anymore. I don't want to do that. I don't agree with this. I don't align with this. Finding out what my actual morals and ethics really were and where my boundaries stood. And they change over time and they move over time based on new information, I guess. But I started talking to myself nicer and showing up and doing different things. I do a lot of things. I do a lot. And I want to talk about that too, because a lot of people are always asking me how are you always doing so much? But every single season, I start off with a list. I make a list where it's intentional of hey, these are the things that I want to do before this season is over, so I don't let it pass me by and I'm like, I didn't even get to do this. I didn't even get to try this. So that every single week, I'm like, okay, well, I have this day off and I have this day off. What thing that I've been wanting and dying to do can I do in this time? And I'm also the kind of person, I do shit alone. That was one of the best things I ever did for myself, was learn how to be alone and learn how to do things by myself. And now I prefer it that way. I still enjoy doing things with other people and enjoy connection in that way. But a lot of the times it's I just want to experience this with just me and experience it fully and not have to hide how I'm feeling or try and worry about if someone else is enjoying this as much as I am. I'm just here and I'm just experiencing it. Like this summer, I was like, okay, I need to ride a horse this summer. And I made intentional time. And then when the opportunity comes up, I take it, I chase it, I grab it. I remember being at work and this girl came up and she was like, oh, blah, 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 the horses. And I said, oh, you have horses? And she was like, yeah, we have a couple. And I was like, can I ride them? I just ask, because what's the worst thing she's going to say? No. Like, that's it. And then it would be like, okay, never mind, I'll find a different way. Looking up like horseback riding online and seeing where I could go do it. But just finding a friend and networking in that way. And by the end of the season, I'm like, wow, I did everything that I wanted to do this year. And that's a huge thing. I make a vision board at the beginning of every single year. And I also do that with my life. I focus on my finances, my spirituality, my relationships, my family, my career, all of those things. What am I looking at for my life and for my future? But those ones specifically seasonally of like, where can I spend my time? What can I pour myself into? What hobbies have I always wanted to try? Can I see if they work for me, or just do it just to do it? Just say fuck it and YOLO. And so like I'm about to start making my fall bucket list, and it's always like, going to a pumpkin patch and carving pumpkins and baking something and things like that. Just like making sure that I'm living life to the fullest and saying, I want to do this. I'm going to do this. Yeah. And that's how I live. I think that really changed my life too, and making sure that I'm just out experiencing life. There's so many people that just like, all they do is they get up, they go to work, they come home, they might do something to decompress, watch a show, play a game, something, and they go to bed and they do the same thing every day. I am not that way. I'm like, I must fill my time. I must take advantage of my life while I have it. I'm not going to wait to retire to go travel. I'm not going to wait till I'm older and more financially secure to go try new things and live my life. My life could end tomorrow and I wouldn't even know. And I wouldn't have experienced the things that I wanted to because I waited. And I waited for someone to join me, or I waited for the right moment or the right opportunity or the perfect day. But it's always those times where it's like, I could do this, but I don't know. And I just push myself past that limit and it all works out. Put it in a calendar. Literally, like, write it down. Like, if you know you have a certain day off that month, or just take a day off that month and say, this is the day that I'm doing this. That way you're building up to it. It's like waiting for the first day of school. You're like, oh my God, it's almost here. Like, I don't know if you guys were excited about school. I loved school. I loved learning. I loved academic validation. So good. I think that this summer I've been doing so much, but I've also I feel this I'm not doing enough creeping in. And I don't know why, but I've taken so much more time to intentionally rest. Like most of the time I have 3 or 4 days off in a row. And so I will take that time, and the first day or two, I used to be like, okay, I'm cleaning on the night I get home from work, and then I'm gonna pack my schedule every single day. I've been spreading it out and being like, okay, I'm going to rest after I get home. I'm gonna eat a nourishing meal and I'm going to rest because I just worked 3 10-hour shifts in a row. And then tomorrow I'm going to do a little bit. I'm not gonna pack everything into one day. I'm gonna do my laundry, I'm gonna do my dishes, and I'm gonna meal prep. And then the rest of the day I'm going to chill and hang out and go for a walk and be outside. And then the next couple days I'll have okay, now it's go time. That intentional rest, that intentional just quiet point of I don't actually need to be doing anything. I'm not a failure for resting. This is important for me to stay safe and healthy and happy, has changed so much. And letting go of this perfectionism mindset of how I have to be doing things. When I first started going to the gym, I was in the gym 7 days a week. I was the most hard, rigid, have to do this. I couldn't take a rest day because I felt like if I did, I was failing. And then as soon as I started taking one rest day, I was performing better. I was lifting heavier. I was like, wow, rest is actually important for my recovery. And then I started taking 2, 3 rest days, and I was still just as strong, still just as fit. And this summer, I was like, you know what? Although my health is my priority and it is important to me, I'm not gonna push myself to be doing all of these things out in the summer, be on a lake all day, on a paddleboard, getting my workout in, and then going and getting another workout. That's pushing myself past the limit again, and I'm not gonna do that. We're almost at the end of the summer here. I've actually lost weight, surprisingly. I didn't intend to. I've been, trying to be good about my eating and things like that. I've maintained my figure. I've maintained my muscles. I maintained all of this stuff, and I realized, and I had this clarity moment of I don't really need to be grinding throughout the entire year. Summer is summer, and I'm meant to be outside, and I'm meant to be frolicking. I'm meant to be going and playing soccer with my son and running with him next to his bike, and those are my activities. I'm being active, I'm being fit. I don't need to be in the gym killing myself and then going and doing all this stuff just to be shredded. I finally let go of this, like, why do I need to have six-pack abs? For what reason? I'm still beautiful. Like, and I still have abs. That's the crazy part, is like, I still have abs. I see them every morning. I see them when I wake up. I still see my little waist and my big butt and my strong shoulders and all that stuff. It feels amazing. I had it in my mind that if I didn't go to the gym every single day, I would be failing. No. And I like that I have that realization, because it shows me that there are different avenues and different ways to be fit and still maintain my goals and still maintain my health, and I don't have to be perfect. Does that mean that I'm not going to go super hard during the winter arc? No, I definitely still am. But there's always these seasons. I'm not always in the gym like that, but knowing that I still look the same feels pretty good. Something pretty cool is going to happen this year. I'm on track for it right now. I'm guessing it's going to happen in the next like 2 months, maybe 3. This is crazy. My goal is to hit 30,000 followers on TikTok. I wanted to double my followers from the beginning of the year. I started with 15,000. I hit 30,000, I think, in April. And I just doubled that. Again, I just hit 60,000 this last week. And I am on track to hitting 100,000 within the next couple of months. It is so validating. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I'm humble about it. I definitely am, because I know that I'm not a celebrity by any means, but the fact that people value what I have to say and value my opinion and value my creativity, that means so much. Coming from a place where I didn't think that anyone cared about what I would have to say, or that I was always too much for people, being me and showing up and being authentic and then being rewarded, nothing is like more healing at that point. And it really does, it is healing. And that sounds kind of goofy to say, but it just reminds me that like I have value and I have worth. And although I don't feel like that, I don't have like low self-esteem where I'm like, oh, I'm not good enough or anything like that. I used to think like that. I don't anymore. But having something like that, and having something that you say to yourself and you believe in yourself, and having it affirmed back to you physically through the world around you and through the people around you, is so validating. My goal with my Instagram, I started the year with 1,000 followers. My goal was to double my followers. I will hit 10,000 probably within the next couple of weeks. Didn't think that this was possible. I'm getting emotional. Oh my God, I'm getting emotional. Listen, what do we talk about? We're feeling it. Having a dream that you can sustain yourself online, people laugh at it. People don't take it seriously. They're like, oh, you want to be an influencer? We get it. I never wanted to be an influencer. I never wanted to push people on products. I never wanted to sell things. I never wanted to just make money and call that my job. My goal has always been to be an influence on people, and a good influence. Watching my work pay off, because it is work. Like, I can't tell you how long I take editing videos, trying to get it right, taking videos, planning videos. It is a job, and it takes a lot of like tedial work, like tasking and sitting down and editing videos and stuff like that. My ADHD brain don't want to do that, let me tell you. Sometimes the editing is like, I'm pulling my fucking hair out. But I just have taken the time in my day to make it normal. It's normal for me to wake up and check my email and talk to brands and talk to other influencers, and that's just like who I am now. And that was only a dream like last year. The beginning of last year, the beginning of 2024, I could have only dreamed of where I'd be at now and making an income from TikTok, paying my bills off of a check I got from social media. I was only dreaming of that, and I did not know how it was possible, but I just trusted that it was gonna happen. I was like, if I just stay consistent, if I just show up, then it will happen, and it has, and it's happened better than I could have imagined it, and I've made so many friends, and I've learned so much, even about myself along the way. And so I'm just so grateful. And so my goal with YouTube is to hit 1,000 subscribers. I don't have a time frame right now, but that is my goal. And to be more consistent in my long form content, because I have so much to share and I have so much to talk about, clearly. But I just want to be here. And I've thought about the type of content that I want to make. Do I want to make videos that are day in my life and show people how I live, or do I want to show them what they're asking for? Do I want to show them how to do my lashes and my makeup, or do I want to show them how I play dress up for an hour and a half in my closet? I just want to make a difference, and I want to be someone that other people can feel that they're connected to as well. Like, even thinking about where I'm going to be next year, like, I'm overwhelmed and like overjoyed about it, because this was the dream. I also have just recently, I had an experience a couple of weeks ago that like cracked me the fuck open. And there was something I wanted to be ever since I was a little kid. That was my dream. But I never told anyone. I think 2 people in this entire world I've said it to out loud, because I was so ashamed of it, and I don't know why, but I carried it as like a secret of like, I don't want people to know that this is what I want to be, because I don't want them to judge me for it or to expect me to fail the way that I expected me to fail. I was so uncomfortable with sharing it, and then when I did finally share it with someone, they like laughed at me, and I just was like, I can never talk about this again. But like, I have always wanted to be an actress. I have always wanted to be a performer, whether that be like musical or like working in a movie or things like that. I've always wanted to do that. And I feel like I've always had like a skill set to do that, but I haven't ever put myself out there to try. And I don't know why. And content creation was kind of like the avenue that I thought would get me there, or at least like make me known. I've always known in my head, like it, in some degree, I was like, I just feel like I was just born to be known and be seen and be heard by other people, and to just like be a little bit in the spotlight. And content creation has showed me that like I am well received, and has a little bit quieted the doubt of like, maybe I could try, maybe I could put myself out there, even if it's just for like some film major's school project. Like, why not try? I think that when it comes down to me setting intentions for next year, I think that's going to be my biggest one. Why play small when I could literally have everything that I want? This whole social media journey for me has shown me that I am so incredibly capable of accomplishing something that feels impossible and feels like the odds are stacked against me, with how saturated the online and digital spaces with creators. The fact that I am recognized in public, the fact that I am signing autographs for people and taking pictures with people because they know my name and they know who I am. And that was such a wake-up call to me of like, I thought that I could never do this. I thought that I would settle for 2,000 followers forever and just be like, oh well, it's a fun little thing that I do. And the fact that this is potentially my next full-time job is being a creator. Why play it small? Why be safe? Why hide what I want to do? I have one life, and I could have everything I want if I just go for it. So I'm going for it. I'm fucking going for it. And I love that I have people that are with me along the way. I feel so much less alone when they say that they feel inspired by me, but when they're also like, I'm rooting for you. Having people that I don't even know, people I've never even met, that are like cheering me on, that means the world. It means the absolute fucking world. Anyway,